By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to steer the system under test using basic dynamic expressions. More specifically, you'll get to know what dynamic expressions are, where to use them in Tosca, and how. But first, let's begin with why you would need to use dynamic expressions in Tosca. In previous lessons, you've learned to populate your test cases with static data. However, in real-life testing scenarios, you don't always have or want to use static data in your test cases. In many situations, you'll need to use dynamic data such as date, time, or random values. This is where dynamic expressions come into play. You'll use dynamic expressions if you need to specify values in your test cases that are not generated until those particular test cases are executed. There are multiple dynamic expressions that you can use. The Tricentis Tosca manual covers all of them, so make sure to refer to it whenever you have questions. In this lesson, however, we'll start with some basic dynamic expressions. We'll cover math function, date, and dynamic text. You can use dynamic expressions at both the module and test case level. Mostly, you'll use them at the test case level. So let's see how to work with dynamic expressions in test cases. To generate special characters and dynamic values, you'll need to use the following syntax in Tosca. You'll need a command, and if needed, parameters. Let's start with an example for math functions. This function allows you to perform calculations. The syntax for the math expression is shown on the screen. As an operand, you can use any numeric value, and as an operator, any basic arithmetic operation, plus some additional ones. Please see the Tosca manual for a full list of operators. Simple examples of the math function are shown here. In the first example, we've multiplied the price of the blue jeans by 25. In the second example, we've added 10 to the price of blue jeans. Let's now see how to generate dynamic dates. The syntax for this is shown on the screen, consisting of an expression and 3 parameters. In this syntax, each parameter is case sensitive, so make sure you've got your capitalization in place. Let's now look at the syntax closer. The expression is used to indicate the date value you want to get. It is based on your current system settings. Expression values are, for example, date and date time. Each expression would need to be followed by 3 pairs of square brackets to indicate the base date, the offset, and the format. The base date is the date value in Tosca format. If you don't enter anything into this bracket, Tosca will use the default system date. If you enter a value, Tosca will calculate and format the result using this value as the base. Offset is the value that is added or subtracted from the base date. For example, plus 2y means 2 years in the future. If you don't specify the offset, Tosca will use the base date with no offset. Format is the format of the output of the data expression. This would typically be the format needed to input or verify in the system in the test. Possible formats include D, which stands for day, capital M, which stands for months, and Y, which stands for years. If you don't set the format, Tosca will use the format defined in your system settings. Here are a few examples of how to set up a syntax for dynamic dates. The first example is 4 months from today's date, with the month being displayed as 2 digits. The second example is 2 years from today's date, with the year being displayed as 4 digits. You can do the same with text and numbers. The expression random text allows you to specify a string length. The generated text may contain both randomized numbers and letters. If you want to generate a random number, you will use the expression RND. In between the brackets, you only need to specify how many digits this number should consist of. For example, here I wanted a 10-digit long number. You can also generate a number within a specific range by adding the upper and lower limits of the random number. To check if your syntax is correct, simply right-click and choose Translate Value. If it's correct, this command will turn your expression into a value. However, please note that this value won't be the same as the one you will get at runtime. When using dynamic expressions, keep in mind that precise values, special characters, and dynamic values can be combined with one another. Go to the support manual to find out more. And this brings us to the end of our lesson. You are now able to steer the system under test using basic dynamic expressions. Take a look at these exercises to test your knowledge.